Reed, Republican from New York. Let me start with where we just were. If you're one of your constituents or anybody's constituents sitting back home and once again there's this little Band-Aid that goes on for the next week, what do you make of the job you guys are doing up there on the Hill?
Well, you know, I share the frustration, but we got to keep the lights on here and keep the government funded, and we're going to do that today. And then we're going to move to the longer conversation and getting it funded through the rest of the year.
All right, let's talk health care then. You told Bloomberg's Sahil Kapoor this week that you were undecided on the revised Republican proposal. You were a yes the first time around. Where do you stand now?
Well, you know, as we had a chance to look at the legislative text, I'm a lean yes because I believe the fundamental reform about pre-existing condition is protected in the recent amendment. And we're just going to continue to move towards the finish line because we got to take care of America's health care because it's not working for the American people.
What's it going to take to move you from a lean yes to a firm yes, or the other way?
Well, it depends on what happens over the next few days as we finalize this vote, if there's additional legislative change. Right now, I'm comfortable where we are, and I think we're getting closer and closer each and every day to move this to the Senate.
We've been doing, of course, here at NBC a whip count. 17 Republicans are opposed, 17 are undecided, and as I'm sure you know, leadership can only afford to lose 22 votes. Do you have a sense of where this is going right now, or is it really truly just up in the air?
No, I think it's going in the right direction. I think members are sincerely trying to work their differences out, and that's legislating. And now, hopefully, we get to the finish line here next week, and we can move this to the Senate and continue working for the American people on other issues.
I know you've been meeting with people from the administration. They've been doing what they need to do to try to get this moving in the right direction. But do you have a sense of their frustration, or if nothing else, that they're unhappy that this didn't get done in the first 100 days?
Well, there's obviously some frustration across the entire city, but the bottom line is we want to get this right for the American people. We have multiple steps here when it comes to America's health care and the solutions we have to do. So there's no deadline per se, but moving forward is something we just want to do, and I'm one of the governing members here who wants to govern for the sake of solving problems for the American people.
I want to ask you a couple of economic things here, and big headlines this week about the president's tax proposal. Here's what Senator Schumer said about that just a few moments ago.
I read in the newspaper. He saw an op-ed in the news. He saw an op-ed and immediately blurted out, "We're going to have a plan by Wednesday," much to the surprise of his staff. You can't do it that way.
You're on the Ways and Means Committee. Does Chuck Schumer have a point there?
Well, they've been working on this. I know, being on the committee, working on tax reform for 7 years, working with the White House. Their team has engaged in the process, and this is a positive step towards getting tax reform to the finish line, with the White House now engaging the way it did this week.
But New York, as you know, where you are, is a high-tax state. Do you have any concerns about the way this is laid out right now?
Well, of course, with the issue of deductibility of our property taxes is something I'm concerned about and will continue to be concerned about as we go forward. But the bottom line is we have to reform this tax code for the American people. It's broken for everyone. And I was glad to see the White House engage on the corporate side, the business side, and the individual side. That's going to be a benefit for all American people, and that's what we're here to do.
If you had to vote on this now the way it's presented, would you vote yes? And if not, what do you think needs to be changed? What's your priority here?
Well, obviously the devil's in the detail in the tax code. So having a one-page proposal is good in the sense of furthering the debate. We got to look at the actual legislative text, and this is why it's a long-term process.
You're also somebody who represents a lot of farmers and rural voters, so I have to ask you about NAFTA before you go. You've been in favor of renegotiating it. Are you relieved that the president backed down from his stated intent all across America over the course of the campaign to withdraw from the agreement?
Yeah, I was pleased to see the White House. They put the marker down. Obviously, they're business people. They're trying to get the best deal they can. But what we need to do is reform NAFTA. We need to bring it up to the modern age. And when it comes to ultra-filtered milk, for example, in Western New York, we're going to be a loud voice when we get to that table to make sure that their interests, the dairy farmers, are protected and taken care of.